Is there a favorite right now in the Auburn coaching search?
In the world full of podcasts, he's the undisputed heavyweight champion of hot takes, an Auburn sports homer, master of the boog, and message board legend. Get your buttons buttoned and your hats flattened because the Top Button Podcast is about to kick off, and you don't want to miss your courtside seat. Now, here's your host, Charlie Five.
Yes, sir. We're back. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Rush, a.k.a. Charlie Five, and we are ready to get after it. Is there a favorite in the Auburn coaching search right now? We're going to ask, or not, we're not going to ask. We're going to hear what Josh Pate has to say in his latest update. We're going to discuss that, how Auburn seems to have their ducks in a row, getting their due diligence done, and obviously then we're going to talk about Auburn's basketball win at the end. So let's just dive right into it. Is there a favorite? According to Josh Pate, there is. So let's listen to his take, and then we'll break it down.
My stance for a while has been, if I'm Auburn, I am absolutely going after John Sumrall. I have not thought that he's the only qualified candidate. I've just thought to myself, if I am, describing what I want in the Auburn head coach, that guy meets all my criteria. That's me. I'm not talking about theirs. That's me. So I think he's very strongly in the mix here. I would call him the favorite to get this job, but not like a 90% overwhelming favorite, because I think they're still doing their due diligence. They're going through their process, and that due diligence has been done. That's the important thing to note here. Not that it's a race. When you get the right guy, you get the right guy. It doesn't matter if it happens Tuesday or Friday. When you get the right guy, you get the right guy. But it is competitive. And so it is in your best interest to be ahead of the pack, and I think Auburn's ahead of the pack right now.
So there you go. And I don't know that I'm too far apart from him based off of what's been reported, what we're hearing. It feels like he's that name's been there from the beginning. And I think John Sumrall has been very aggressive as far as making it known that he wants the Auburn job. So it's not surprising that name has remained constant. I think even now, if you go to betonline.ag, he is the betting favorite, and it's now negative money. So in other words, you got to bet more money to win a less amount. So it's minus 150 right now. So you got to bet $150 to win $100. Typically, coaching searches are all plus money. So now betting odds are notoriously bad for predicting a coach, but I think there's just so many things that are kind of in line that make it seem like John is definitely the number one guy for now. One thing he said in there that I really liked is talking about Auburn being ahead of the pack, and I think this goes back to those that said, you need to fire him. You need to fire Hugh now. It's imperative that you fire him now so that you get ahead of the game as far as the coaching search goes. And Auburn was already, I think, in that process. I think John Cohen and all that group were already sort of in that process. So when the firing actually did happen, it wasn't going to take them long to really ramp this thing up because they had already started to do, like Josh Pate says, due diligence. And I think they've done due diligence on not just John Sumrall, but a lot of different coaches. There's a lot of different coaches that I think he's going to meet with this week. He's going to meet with today. He's going to meet with tomorrow. There's a lot of coaches that he's already currently full on vetting out. But it does feel like John is sort of ahead of the pack. And look, I don't have to go through his resume. Everybody that has Google understands where he's come from, what programs he's been a part of, and when he's become a head coach, he just wins. Sure, there's letdowns everywhere. If someone wants to, I know a bunch of people want to talk about the UTSA loss a couple of weeks ago. If there's an undefeated coach out there, I'm in. Count me in. If there's a coach that'll never lose, sign me up. You point them out, and I'm in 1,000%. Okay? Unfortunately, coaches lose. It's not about that you lose. It's how many do you lose? And he doesn't lose many. So if he ends up the Auburn coach, I think obviously Auburn's going to be in a really good spot. It's a little bit of a shift. You've gone through several offensive coaches now. You have a defensive-minded head coach, a true CEO, though. He really thrives on building culture and hiring his guys. He's carried his offensive coordinator with him, who's had a fair amount of success at every stop. I think he'd probably be a pretty attractive guy to come coach with just because of his track record of success. And you kind of have a blueprint of, hey, he'll let me come in and do my thing. And obviously they got a lot of talent at Auburn. So it makes total sense. The only thing that scares me about John Summerall, and it's not necessarily about him in particular, about him becoming the head coach, is that very rarely does the first guy, the obvious guy, become the coach. Like, look, let's just talk through some of these betting odds. Obviously, you got John Summerall, DJ Durkin's number 2 in the betting odds. James Franklin is number 3, Jeff Brom number 4, Kenny Dillingham number 5, and Eli Drinkwitz 6. So that's like, from a betting odds standpoint, that's your top 6. So it feels like if Auburn were to land really any of those guys, they're all pretty good. They're all pretty dang good college coaches. Okay, you could probably have success with all of them. So it's not so much that one is way better than the other. John Summerall's name's just been there. So that's why I think he's up at the top of the list. And he's, again, I said it earlier, he's made it very, very aware with the people that matter. If you know what I mean there. Put that in quotation marks, people that matter. That he's interested in the Auburn job, and he's sold himself to the correct people. So we'll see as the weeks play out. We'll see as it's not many weeks. If the goal is still to have it done shortly after the Iron Bowl, it ain't very long. We're 3 weeks away, a little over 3 weeks away. It's such a weird dynamic right now of how to, and John Summerall is going to be a good example. I want to talk about that in just a second. I'll talk about that in just a second. We'll be back after this. I want to give a quick shout out to me, Kyle Rush at Keller Williams in Auburn, Opelika, part of the Legacy Property Group. You can email me at kylerush@kw.com. Hey, it could be about real estate, or hey, it could just be to have a conversation. Had a lot of those recently, and I enjoy every single one of them. Obviously, had a couple of folks already reach out about investment opportunities, moving their kids here, things like that. So I'd love to help you and your family out, whether you're looking to buy, build. I think I have a very unique background as far as construction goes. I know everybody in town, so if you're looking to build, I can definitely be your guy to point you in the right direction there. Or, hey, invest. We have some really unique townhome opportunities coming up that I'd love to fill you in on as well. Already zoned for short-term or long-term rental. Great stuff there. I'd love to help you and your family out. So give me a shout. It's Kyle Rush with Keller Williams, kylerush@kw.com. It's such a unique dynamic right now. And what do I mean by that? So think about this. When we talk about timelines, of wanting a coach, and if you want a coach right after the Iron Bowl, so let's say December 1st, that's before conference championship games. That's obviously before the playoffs. So your ultimate goal is to find a coach that can get you to conference championships, that can get you to the playoffs. But the coaches you're looking at, you're hoping they lose and don't get into conference championships or the playoffs, because that completely throws off the timeline. Now, if they can get into the conference championship and not the playoffs, that's not the end of the world, because typically those are just 1 week after the final game of the season. So the key, though, is that early signing day, which I don't know. It feels like we keep inching closer to having the most ideal calendar that makes it not so impossible when you have a coaching change. But that's one that's still really, really tough. I mean, that is early signing day is like 5 days after the final game of the season. That's just really hard to have everything in line and turned around ahead of time. I think when Hugh was hired, it felt like it was on a weird day, so he had longer to get to that signing day. Well, we're now we end on Saturday, and Wednesday is early signing day. So you're looking at these guys. I mean, John Summerall, I think he's in like a 4-way tie right now for the what is it, American Athletic Conference. So if he wins out, I think he's got to have some help with some tiebreakers and things like that. But if he wins out, he's going to be playing in the conference championship. And if he were to win that conference championship, they take a G5 team every year. The top rated G5 team, I think, makes the playoffs. So there's a chance. It's not a big one, but there's a chance he could go to the playoff. And does that disqualify him? Because now you're talking about mid to late December before you can bring him in. And then you just keep going down the betting odds. Jeff Brom, he's pretty much out, so I guess he could possibly be available unless he goes and wins the ACC championship, which he very well could. Kenny Dillingham, another one, could make the playoff. Brent Key, that's a name that's been out there, could make the playoff. Alex Golish, that's a name out there, could make the playoff. All these guys are really good coaches. Lane Kiffin, that you'd love to have, but they're all vying for a spot to play in the playoffs. So it's weird. You need them to not get in. You need them to not do the thing that you want them to do at Auburn before you really feel like you have a shot to make it work with the timeline, because boy, you just can't go too deep into December because of how important I think roster retention is. Now, you could go with the mindset that it doesn't matter. You got to get the right guy. And there's a lot of truth to that. Okay. There's a great argument for that. Don't worry about the roster retention so much. Lock in and guarantee you get the guy you want. And then we'll figure that out on the back end. If you can't, if you can't really bring in a bunch of high school kids, you weren't going to have a big class anyway this year. So let's go focus 100% on the portal. If you didn't spend enough time retaining the roster and you're going to lose some guys, that's fine. We got the right guy. Now we can go bring in his guys from the portal. There's definitely that train of thought as well. I think most, though, man, you just feel like this roster's right there. And if you could just you watch the jump from last week to this week as far as how much more competitive the team is. Spare me on the defense. I get it. I don't expect that to happen, much more moving forward. But just that jump, it's like, man, it doesn't feel like it's that far. If you can just get the right leadership, it's not a huge effort to rebuild everything. You can just hopefully plug and go, reload instead of rebuild. It's weird. I battle back and forth. It's like you're rooting for the coaches that you want to lose. And then you expect them to come here and win. It's just, it's crazy. So it still does feel like John Summerall is probably the favorite in the clubhouse currently. But I think that could change. I think James Franklin is a reality. I think Kenny Dillingham is a reality. Could very well happen. And this is I've said this, I think, on Zach's show yesterday. This is just a sneaky suspicion, okay? Not much intel at all. And I know he just signed an extension at SMU, which I think most of it was on – they're a private school, so they don't have to publicize their numbers or anything like that. But I think most of the extension was on the buyout and things like that. But I'm telling you, the more we go without hearing the name Rhett Lashley, that's how these things typically go. If they can keep they'll have all these smoke screens out there. Maybe even have a guy that you feel like is the obvious one, and he's going to get the job. And then a name comes out of nowhere. Rhett Lashley really feels like that person. So, not saying we get him, but I'm saying the longer this thing goes without hearing his name, I think he becomes a really real candidate, which I particularly would be very, very happy if that were to be the case. Offensive guy, and I think you got a really good chance at keeping DJ Durkin there. Why wouldn't he want to keep DJ Durkin? You possibly have a quarterback prospect you could bring in. You got a relationship with a really good offensive coordinator over there at Duke who's got a really good quarterback. We could do a whole show on it. There's a lot of things there, but I think that's definitely reality as well. Let's talk basketball. Auburn takes down Wofford 93-62. Covered the spread. I think ended up being like 27.5 points. Pretty much dominated from the beginning. Really good to see the three balls fall. They fell early, and we got a little cold late, but for the most part, looked really good. Shot 33% from three. Would love it to be over 35. I think if this team can shoot over 33 to 35% from three, they can win a lot of basketball games. Really good. I say really good. Another one, they started out, I think they made their first 5 or 6 free throws, which is obviously fantastic. We love that. And then cooled off a little bit late, 66% from the line and 50% from the field, which is fantastic. Wofford was not great. They were small, and even by our standards, we're not overly big, but they were really small. And the only thing, I think they did score a fair amount of points in the paint. Nothing crazy. But I think if you're looking at, potential red flags, or not red flags, maybe caution flags, Auburn's defense in the paint is something definitely to watch. They scored 36. So basically over half of their points they scored in the paint. Keyshawn Murphy did not play, so that was a huge factor as well. He was a emergency only situation, which we didn't even remotely come close to having an emergency. So that obviously gave us a little bit of weakness maybe down low. So that's something they still got to work on. Still have to get that figured out, because the teams, when you go play a Houston who's very aggressive and very physical, you feel like you could possibly have some issues in the paint. You could have some issues in the paint if you're not able to get that done. As far as scorers go, obviously you had Keyshawn Hall. Actually, Elijah Freeman led in scoring. He was really electric. He had a lot of really athletic buckets getting to the basket. He did not, that I can remember, have his signature Euro step, which has been, he's been really, really good at that. But he still scored 21 points, 7 of 12 from the field, 6 of 8 from the line, 21 points in 28 minutes. Pretty good. And you got Keyshawn Hall, who you'd look up, he's got a double-double and 20 points. 3 of 3 from deep. That's electric. 3 of 3 from deep, 3 of 3 from the line, 7 of 10 overall, 20 and 11. Really, really good in 27 minutes. Still waiting on Tahad to get hot, man. Tahad, he was very, very cold shooting. He was 1 of 7 from 3, 4 of 17 from the field, but I think you still got to keep shooting. 5 assists to 2 turnovers. So if you can keep that 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio, that's not terrible. 26 minutes. It's going to turn with him, man. Eventually, he's going to get hot. I mean, it's just inevitable. So good stuff from Auburn basketball. You definitely wanted them to make a statement, put them away, before you go play. You got your big one on Sunday against Houston, number 1 team in the country. Whew. Should be a big Auburn contingent in Birmingham for that one. So Houston's good. Auburn's good too. They're still growing, still learning. So we'll see how that one plays out. Let me know what you think about the coaching search. Who's your number 1 guy? I may have asked that 1,000 times, but who's your number 1 guy? Not named Lane Kiffin. Forget that one. Who's your number 1 guy not named Lane Kiffin? I think Lane Kiffin could go to the NFL, by the way. There's some stuff heating up with him and the New York Giants. So that could very well be an option. Just can't trust him. Sorry, I just can't do it. I can't do it. I can't go that deep and be waiting on Lane Kiffin to make a decision while he's recruiting our players. So to go somewhere else. Guys, I really appreciate it. This thing, I think, is going to go fast. Once that final clock hits 0 after the Iron Bowl, I think it's going to be fast and furious. I'm really impressed with how diligent and how ahead of the game Auburn's been. You heard Josh Pate say that, hey, Auburn's ahead of the pack, and that's including you got all the disasters at LSU. That's including Florida, Arkansas, all these quote unquote competitors. Auburn's way ahead of the game as far as the way this thing's organized and the direction they're moving. So hadn't named a bad coach yet that's been associated with Auburn. So it feels like no matter what direction they go in, it should be a good one. And we'll talk about it when it happens. So appreciate it. Thanks for listening. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. Stay buttoned.
Thanks for listening and drive home safely.